Hey, welcome to another episode of More to the Story. I am Farron Moore.
And I'm to hear more. I have a question. I
No.
started this in
Okay.
the green room when we were in Miami, Florida. And
No.
I want to know what's a
No.
reasonable amount to spend on a date? Not a first date. What's a reasonable amount to spend on a date?
Okay, but wait. Like, what class? Like, that depends on the person. That's individual. Like, give me some circumstances
I
behind this
like
date.
to do it like this because I
Like,
like
is
to see where
this
everybody is.
a third date, because some people, because they got it like that,
Right.
and they like to show off. It's like, oh, spend $500, we're going to the blah blah blah, we're doing the blah blah blah, like, and it's somebody else who's like, we can keep it real cute, go hold hands at a county fair,
Mhm.
and I spent like $60 because I
That's-
got these two. Like,
It is up to you.
so it's
up to you because once you start getting
so
into that,
when you say reasonable, it sounds
it's reasonable for you. It's reasonable for you because once you start getting into all of those factors, all of those variables,
Mhm.
it becomes too much. I'm
Mhm.
just saying for you, what's a reasonable amount for you?
For me. Are you asking me?
No, you don't pay for no dates.
How you know? I've paid for a date or two in my life.
Okay. What's a reasonable amount for you?
It for someone
Let's say this is a nice date. It isn't the nicest.
Just
but
dating.
This is a nice date.
Just dating. This is not someone I'm committed to. I'm dating.
That's on you. If you want to give that parameter, you can say
If
this is somebody.
Okay. Well, it would have to be committed to, because I don't do that for just dating.
Mhm.
But committed to. Oh,
Mhm.
I don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Kind of difficult.
I don't know. Like, just on some quick cute shit. Like,
Mhm.
maybe $100, $150.
Mm.
But if we trying to get fancy, like, it's whatever's at my disposal, how I'm feeling.
Right. I think a reasonable amount for us is probably about, if we get food and drinks, we're probably looking at about
Or maybe
$175
average,
$225.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
between that $50 range, $175
Yeah.
to $225 for us.
Like,
if
on
the kid is
our
with
date
us,
nights.
the kid is with us, it's $275 easy.
Oh yeah.
$275 easy. The kid, she
So we're
gonna
talking
eat.
about a date.
Yeah.
So that's me and you out.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that reasonable for you? You want to go bigger, or you trying to go smaller?
That's fine. I mean, we've been bigger.
I know that, but
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, were you trying to change the average number or something?
I
Where'd the
was
question
curious.
come from?
I was curious to what people are spending on dates. I was really curious.
Oh.
Because I see all of these things about first dates, and the guys are like, one guy said it's a, what is it? What was the term he used? A micro date or something like that, like to a coffee shop, like before you start investing money in a person, go to somewhere inexpensive like a coffee shop and stuff
Right.
like that. And I always encourage younger guys to do something like that.
Yeah.
Like you
I
like
mean,
somebody.
hell, that was one of our first dates.
Yeah, we went to Starbucks.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't to save money. It's just like that was from when I'm talking to the younger guys, I'm like, that's not from a save money solo standpoint. It's also from like you can talk to this person without getting them drunk or having them make any decisions under the influence. So get to know that person first. But
And it's
the
a place
guys,
to actually talk, like, it versus going to the movies.
yeah. Because some of the guys are like, no, I'm not paying for just your meal and all that type of stuff. But I was just curious of like what people are spending on first dates or what people are spending on dates, period.
What you spent on first dates when you go out with other people?
I used to spend probably about between 100 and 150.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
that's okay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, I guess. Let me see them first and see if they worth $150.
I ain't been on no first date.
I'm like, you better take her to the
Applebee's, get that $2 margarita.
No, what's that movie theater? They do like $6 tickets on Will Tuesdays.
There's a lot of
You better take her to
AMC?
$6 Tuesdays at the movie theater.
Yeah. Movies are horrible.
No
date
concessions,
ideas.
bitch. No.
No concessions? Bring your big purse. We got a pack in the car.
We can meet me at the Dollar Tree. We go grab some candy.
I think the most I've ever spent on a first date was probably about maybe like $275 on the first date.
Really? Oh, you really like that number, eh?
Nah,
Feels
that's
good
just
on
what
the
it was.
whole, huh?
That's just what it was.
Okay. The most I ever spent on a first date, never.
$17.
I paid for parking. It's fun being a girl.
It's y'all get a lot of the benefits.
Like what did Corey B. Shirt say? Monogamy is for broke people.
Hey, listen, it ain't just for broke people, okay? But it makes sense. It makes sense. You got to think about more than one birthday, more than one anniversary, more than one just because, more than one additional flight.
Yeah.
And there's always the guy that picks it up. So the women just be like, where we eating?
Make it enough. No, lies.
Where we eating?
Make it you've even had like just female friends do that to you too. Just assume you're gonna pick up the check, and it's like, bitch, this was a lunch meeting. Like this was a meeting, not a date.
I've scaled back a lot though. I've scaled back a lot on that because we used to meet up at my spot, and I would buy drinks for probably like 20 people.
He was buying everybody's goddamn drinks. I was like, we ain't got to do this, right? We ain't got to. We ain't got to.
I didn't like to have a good time.
Yes, let them have a good time on their own fucking wallet. Like, you ain't about to be paying for everybody's goddamn drinks and then get home and talk about how much we spend at the house. What the fuck? Get that drink money back, nigga. Venmo these motherfuckers.
Yeah, I pull back. I scale back a lot.
Oh my God. I sure be watching. Who drinks you got? Meet me in this bathroom. We need a business meeting real quick at this bar.
She bring around a little calculator thing on her waist and bring the hat out. Did they add gratuity? They add gratuity after a certain amount?
Right. At least tell me that these motherfuckers with these free drinks tipping. So you got a tip for them too?
Nah, they stripping though. Hello. They ain't tipping, we ain't stripping.
Oh my God. Real quick. So I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and just going through some shit, prepping for the studio today. And we got to talking about how people weaponize therapy, or weaponized therapy, and then it morphed into this conversation about just weaponizing mental health and as a whole. And I have to say, like, when we were saying what the definition and examples of it was, I have to say, I was like, wow, I appreciate the fact that Tahir has never, ever, ever done that. I give you all your space. I don't pry into what you and your therapist talk about. If you want to talk about it, you bring it up on your own.
Right.
Or if you bring up something that's bothering you, I'm like, well, have you talked to your therapist about it? If you don't mind me asking what what did she say? Whatever. But you've never used it as like a way like, oh, my therapist, you said you're doing this wrong, or that type of no, babe, it's supposed to be husband privileges. Take off the LY. Sorry, you guys. He was putting the title on the last episode. So I just appreciate you never doing that. But what's the ideal way for your mental health to be supported without you feeling attacked by the fact that you have a mental health issue?
I don't know. I mean, for me, it would be being comfortable enough to tell you what me and the therapist talked about, you being able to support that the best of your abilities, and After that, I guess it would be, you know, acknowledgement of when you see the work from those practices.
Mhm.
Um, because it's one of those things where it's not gonna change till the person wants it to change and they
Mhm.
start putting in the work. But when you do notice the change, it is, you know, positive reinforcement when you
Mhm.
acknowledge it. You
Mhm.
know, you thank the person for putting forth the effort, especially if it's something that is beneficial for the relationship
Mhm.
or the marriage.
Mhm.
So those are the things I would suggest, or I would, you know, speak on personally, because I know that's what works for me. When you compliment, like, and I notice that you are, you know, put in more work with the kid, or you're being more patient, you're being more understanding, or, you know, you've been trying to, you know, be around the house more and be, you know, more present
Mhm.
with us. So when you do speak on those things, it's like, oh man, it's just that positive reinforcement. Like, okay, cool. This is,
Mhm.
you know, I'm seeing the work, I'm seeing the rewards of my work.
Mhm.
Because anytime you are changing something that's a learned behavior and something that you've been doing for years, it's hard. So
Yes, yes, to unlearn what you've like has pretty much kind of become like innate in a way.
mhm.
Cause the shit you do, I mean, you've been doing it and learned it very early, you know?
Yeah, yeah, a lot of
So
times.
yeah. So yeah, the conversation of Jonah Hill and his ex
I
came
am
up.
completely in the dark about that. I don't know what's happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So supposedly she's come out to speak on how once he started going to therapy, he started using like these, I guess kind of these like keywords
Mhm.
from therapy to like use
Gaslighting and
against her to
yeah.
get her to change who she was.
Mhm.
Um was a big part of it. So it was it was just funny how it's like some people go to like 3 therapy sessions and feel like they got it all figured out and they can start spewing all the psychology terms and all the shit like they know what they're talking about when actually it's like, nah,
Mm.
you don't. So like the cuz a lot of people, it seems like it's stopping people from holding themselves accountable when you're able to just cut off relationships or change people, attempt to change people based on what you feel you gathered from therapy. Why is therapy about what I'm doing wrong to you? You know?
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Like you're in there talking like you only came out with a message as to what I'm doing
Mhm.
wrong. Like that was it. It was nothing you burning there talking about you at all.
Yeah.
Is kind of how that feels coming out of it.
Well, a therapist is meant to be biased too.
Mhm.
They're gonna be biased because you're their client, but it's also their job to let you know when you're wrong.
Mhm.
Or they actually can't say that. I think they say, "Do you think that's the right way to handle it? And
Mhm.
why do you think that person reacted the way they do? How would you have reacted if you were that person that was getting accused of this or charged with this type of behavior?"
Mhm.
Like, so they are going to be a little bit biased, but they're also going to help you navigate through your decision making or your previous decision making and why you made those decisions. Um, but I can see some people, not
Mhm.
necessarily calling them narcissists, but I can see some people who could be narcissists or sociopaths
Mhm.
only blaming the people around them for their fucked up behavior. And I don't think that is conducive to the work of therapy. I think
Mhm.
that you're just arming them to be more dangerous and abusive emotionally with their partners. Um, I don't go to therapy because I think I got it all figured out. It's quite the opposite.
Mhm.
I know I don't have it all figured out. I know there are things that I need to still work on. I know there may be trauma that still needs to be unpacked. And I think that this person has they're on with the knowledge to help me ask the questions to help myself unpack it and realize the things that I could be doing better. It's not necessarily I'm doing something wrong in certain instances. It's like I could be doing it better. And my whole idea with therapy is like, if I can be the best version of myself
Mhm.
with the help of this person, and that version is going to spill over to all areas and facets of my life, why would I not do that?
Right.
And so that's where the continuing of therapy goes to. Initially, it was because I had a lot of shit I had to unpack and I wasn't in tune with my feelings and I was not good at communicating in tense situations. Now it's like, okay, how can I continue down this path in pursuit of becoming my best self? So you
What
have to
is
be able to take some of that responsibility and not be placing it at the feet of other people the entire time.
Right, right. Um, wow. I have so many like questions digging into that or so many comments, but I know I use well actually we both use the term like best self.
Mhm.
So or you know to be a better person. What the hell do we mean by that?
Um,
Like
from personal experience,
uh-huh.
the best self of me is somebody that, like I said, better at communication
Mhm.
and not just in times of peace, which is a Martin Luther King quote. Judge a man, but not how he reacts in times of peace, but how he reacts in times of chaos or something like
Mhm.
that. It's I paraphrase, obviously, but I think that's the true character of a person. And
Mhm.
that's one thing I can say about Kev. Like, I think one time he flipped out, but he wasn't around. But he was telling us a story about how they tried to play him at this red carpet, and his kids was there, Melissa was there, all that type of stuff. But I've seen Kev in very heated situations where I would have flipped. There would have been counters broken, tables flipped, chairs kicked, and he manages to keep his cool
Mhm.
and really conduct himself in a professional yet still stern manner
Mhm.
without raising his voice, without cursing, any of that type of stuff. And those are things that I aspire to get to.
Mhm.
And being able to have those uncomfortable conversations where we are at a place now where we can talk about that stuff and it's not just tension in the house for a week or
Mhm.
2 to 3 days to a week. We are usually at a place where we can talk about it immediately, and even if we're not at ease, we've talked about it and the next day things are for the most part back to normal.
Mhm.
And that came from a lot of therapy. That
Yeah.
came from putting the work in. That came from realizing the mistakes and the errors of my ways and then communicating that with her to let her know why I reacted that way,
Mhm.
what triggered her, what
Yeah.
triggered me, and her adjusting her tone
Yeah.
or the basis of the conversations or the way we started the conversations, the way she might have brought a concern to me.
Mm.
All of that type of stuff makes a difference, but it is a team effort. Like
Mhm.
if I'm
Mhm.
putting in the work and I'm explaining to her the work that I'm putting in and I'm trying to do, and I'm telling her what triggered me, and she's not putting forth an effort to make sure she doesn't approach me in the same manner, then it's not going to work. It
Mhm.
has to be a team effort, even if it's just one person that's going to the therapy. If they're putting in the work to really try to change, then that partner needs to put in an equal amount of work to
To
make sure that's
support,
supportive
yeah.
of those positive changes.
Mhm. 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 You know, that just made me think about that show on Apple TV, The Shrink Next Door with Paul Rudd and Will Ferrell.
Mhm.
So, Paul Rudd is spoiler alert. The Paul Rudd is this therapist,
Mhm.
and Will Ferrell is this really timid guy. He's like in his 40s. I think he had just turned 40 or something, and
Because
it's
he's about to
set
have his
back. Hit a bar mitzvah and all
again,
that,
yeah.
but he's going to this therapist, and this therapist is like basically just showing him ways to advocate for himself, because he would literally like curl up in a ball at any sight of confrontation, and the man would literally cry or hide or whatever as an adult. So he's helping him like advocate for your teaching him these things so that he can move in confidence. And so the more confidence he gets, his closest family member is like, "Yo, what are you doing?
Mhm.
Too much change too fast." But at the same token, the therapist is also using his help as a weapon against him. And so making him heavily influencing his life decisions.
Mhm.
So he's like getting it from both sides. This relationship fell apart because of his changes in his confidence. And this one, a toxic relationship, walked right through the door um, under the guise of help.
Mhm.
But yeah, you just bringing up like not having that support. So he didn't really have that support from either side. He
Yeah.
had what looked like support, and he had absolutely no support.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just such a good show too. Y'all should watch it. But yeah, the just reading reading into that, like somebody said up there, using therapy words. Jonah was using therapy words to control her, and in it by example, like before you're fine with the way I dress, but
Mhm.
now since you're in therapy, now you're telling me that having someone who looks like me around you is an issue for you mentally. And it's like, well, wait, how?
How do you fix that though? What is that? I don't know what that means. Like, does that mean you want her to tone it down, or does that mean you want to break up? Because
Right.
that could go either way. So like that, even something
Right.
like that needs to be interpreted, broken down, explained,
Yeah.
communicated well. Because like you can't tell a person something like that without more depth.
Mhm.
Like it needs more detail attached to that.
Right, right. Um, okay, but I appreciate and it's good to know, I always want to know how to support, how to help. So
Hmm.
that's that's good to know. Thanks for sharing your things with me.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
And speaking of best self, I actually brought cards today.
Mm-mm.
You said
I
no?
said, uh-oh.
Oh. I say why no? We love these. Um which category?
Ah,
These
dealer's
are
choice.
the icebreaker ones. Dealer's choice.
Dealer's
Okay,
choice.
dealer's choice. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, have we seen this one before? Would you rather experience, this is a would you rather card. Would you rather experience the beginning of planet Earth or the end of planet Earth? Did we do that one before?
I feel like we have.
Was it on here though?
I don't know. Maybe it was on Squadcast, something like that. I think it might have been Squadcast. I did something like that.
Oh, answer me right now. Would you rather experience the beginning of planet Earth or the end of planet Earth? Ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh.
I mean, I don't know that either one of those are challenges. The beginning, maybe the beginning, because if I have the knowledge of just the beginning and I don't know what I'm missing out on, then I don't know what I'm missing out on. But the ending of Earth, you know it's about to come to an end. You may make it to your deathbed by old age. You might die by the ending of the world. So,
Yeah.
like, if you didn't get a chance to do all the things you wanted to do, like jump out of an airplane or drive a Ferrari or sail on the Nile, wherever it may be, you die possibly with that regret or mend a relationship or, reach some level of success in your career. Now
Oh,
you have
so
to
you're
die with that.
worried about the world, I mean, planet ending with you having regrets.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's more so. Okay, that makes sense. It's like you always something that you're like, man, I wish I had done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I could see that. I don't see anybody like leaving the world and being like, yeah, did it all, no regrets.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's always
Is
something
that
that you wish
even
you did.
possible?
I mean, I guess
Like-
if you were like insanely rich and you've been rich your whole life, then I would imagine. But I mean,
But-
you might have had like if usually when you're insanely rich or something like that, you might not have the best people skills, or you're a
Yeah.
douchebag, and maybe you have a chance to make real friends or something like that. So you never know.
Very true.
Mm. You know what's crazy is on the way in today, I was driving and I was thinking about winning the lottery. I think the lottery in my mind at that time was like 256 million.
Mhm.
And I thought about, if I took it in one lump sum, I probably get about $150 million. I can. So at that point, I'm thinking like, all right, with $150 million, I can get us a nice house out here. We get a couple income properties, take care of some bills, and we could still have probably $130 million that we could put up and stuff like that, right? And then I started thinking about the vacations I would take and the old school cars. I don't need a whole lot of new cars, but I would get like some old schools. I love old school cars. The shopping and stuff like that. Of course, make sure my mom is good, my mother-in-law is good, and friend go shopping, that type of stuff. I know we got to make that announcement too.
Yes.
But in the midst of that, all of these things I would do, I completely abandoned comedy and work and
yeah,
acting.
none of that came
Yeah,
up.
I didn't think about any of that stuff, and I didn't know if that was because I feel like I've worked so hard, I deserve a break, or I want to get
really
this. I
be
want to,
done?
yeah, I want to get all this stuff situated first, and then. But I also feel like part of that is like you lose the drive for greatness when you kind of achieve a certain level of money. And that certain level of money is associated with success. So if you had the money, for some people, that equates to the level of success for your career path or your field, you might not be as motivated.
That's what Whitney Houston said. She was like, I didn't need to work. I had the money.
And Damon
So
Wayans
she
had the
just
same
did
thing.
what she wanted to do. She was like, I had money. I didn't need money.
Yeah, it's
So-
difficult. I feel like
Yeah,
when
sometimes that's enough.
when I see a rapper whose second album, their sophomore album, does not do as well as the first album,
Mhm.
I always equate it to the money. You're comfortable. Like if I was a rapper, I would try to experiment. If my debut album was fire, when it's time to go in the studio and do that sophomore album, I want to go somewhere remote. I want to have a limited amount of funds to have access to. I want to go back to a thugging days. I want to maybe however long as it takes to make the album. If it's take me 3 months, I want to be going for 5 months. I want to take a month to get acclimated back to like having to struggle or go through the trenches a little bit. Eating bologna, whatever it takes to get my mindset back to that struggle, because you fall off and you get comfortable and you get the money, you become lax and you have the luxuries of time and resources. You're not going to go as hard in that studio, and you're not putting the same grit into that rap because you don't have that anymore. That's foreign to you.
Also, with that, you still like going back to Struggle Town. It puts you in a kind of in a dangerous space, especially for a lot of, which is why a lot of rappers like they struggle to stay relevant, because it's like, oh, now I ain't in the hood anymore. I can't go back. Not with the money I have now. So how do I stay relevant and keep talking about this shit when I'm not even living it anymore?
Well, that's why I said not go back to, but go somewhere like rural. Like if I went back, like I wouldn't go back to.
You want to go live on a farm?
No, I wouldn't do that.
You
But like maybe
your next album is all about
no,
milking cows.
I wouldn't do that. I would go somewhere remote, like like
Your
in
sheepdog.
Joshua Tree or Palm Springs or 29 Palms, where I don't have all the luxuries of clubs and bars and places staying open at 12 o'clock. I have to be very intentional about buying groceries and making sure I get to the place before they close, or somewhere on top, like in Big Bear, where it was like two town stores that closed at like 8 o'clock. One closed at like 6, and then the other one closed at like 8. So you got to like plan that shit out, and it makes you more frugal. It makes you more responsible. It makes you more aware of your situation. So that's more so what I was talking about instead of going back. I would never recommend going back to the hood.
I thought you were like, I gotta go back to East St. Louis.
No.
So that I can write my next music. And it's like, please don't. Please don't.
Like, and I would damn near not even want a car, or if I had a car, it wouldn't be something flashy,
So you trying to live off the grid, Hannah style, for a little bit.
Yeah, and like I feel like that would get me back into like remembering when I was in this position I had to be, and being able to tap into that. I would take, maybe some of the same pictures I had in the studio when I made the first album, or the same pictures I had in that apartment that I was making that first album in, and hang that around where I was so I can draw from that same energy. Only take a week's worth of clothes if I'm going to be there for a couple of months. Take a week worth of clothes so I don't have that I don't know, just that luxury of wearing what I want. Like, 'cause sometimes you put on an expensive shirt or expensive pair of shoes, it changes your whole swag, your whole mindset, your whole feeling. But if you ain't got that, if you got a dusty pair of Forces, and if you're gonna be there for a couple months, you gotta wash these Forces to maintain their cleanliness. It's gonna change you, and you may be able to tap back into whatever it was that you made that first. It's just an idea.
Also, first world problems. He has to clean his Forces.
I don't clean my Forces.
Exactly.
Once they get,
it's like, oh, the struggle. I have to clean my shoes. I can't just get
after
a new
the 6th or 7th wear,
Poor
throw them away.
Me.
Hey, say what you want. They just never gonna be the crispiness that I want.
It's funny because if that is your struggle, then you are doing fucking fantastic.
Absolutely over here, but like your struggle is like relative to where you are.
Yeah, like I was telling the kid, I was like, you have had like a legit full childhood. You have never had to struggle for anything. You've always had your own room, your own space, like your entire life. And she was like, Mom, I know struggle. Like this one time there was a water bug in the kiddie pool and it traumatized me. And I
I
was
just
like,
want to push her down sometimes.
wow. I think the only other struggle she had was that she had migraines. Like that was it. Life has been great for that one. Little asshole. Next card.
Okay.
Who in your life or past do you owe an apology and what for?
I ain't never wrong about it.
You want to start over?
I'll give it another whirl. I don't.
Mm,
I don't know. First instance will maybe be my mom. But that can also come from just wanting to please your parents. Um, you know, a lot of the stuff I went through is because I wasn't necessarily rebellious, but you know, I hung with other kids. So,
mm,
that kind of came hand in hand with having a kid at an early age, and everything else was kind of just wrong place, wrong time, getting shot
mhm.
and getting set on fire. All that shit was just wrong place, wrong time. Um, but I do remember around 27, 28, I called my mom one time and because I had thought about all the things she sacrificed to make sure I had a decent upbringing, stayed in a very abusive relationship so we could have a clean and decent house to live in. Uh, didn't go back to college and didn't travel overseas because she got pregnant with me. Now, obviously, that wasn't my fault. I didn't ask to be here. But once I was here, she made sure I went to the best school possible. You know, I could have went to school in East St. Louis, which had a crazy dropout rate. But she fought hard and found an address for me to use in St. Louis so I could go to school in St. Louis and have a better education in her mind and also be close to her because she taught in St. Louis. And um, she did the best she could. I held a lot of things against her growing up. She never came to any of my school plays or
Mhm.
recitals, anything like that. But they always went to my younger sister's stuff. And if they couldn't go, they sent me with a camcorder to record it.
Wow.
And I held on to that for a very long time.
Yeah, I would have to.
And
Yeah.
it makes sense. As a kid, it's like, damn, y'all really, I know I was an accident and she was planned.
Mhm.
And that has been vocally told to me, but I held on
But
to that for a
shit.
very long time. But, even still, my mom did a lot of sacrifices. She did the best she could. She was not perfect by any means, but given the situation, it could have been a lot worse,
Mm,
especially when I look at some of my cousins and things of that nature in the
mhm,
state that they're in mentally, emotionally, and the relationships they haven't been able to build, possibly because of the way that they were raised.
mm,
I'm thankful.
mhm.
So I probably would, and I've already apologized for it, but I would definitely try to be more understanding and loving growing up, and maybe not have moved away so early because I kind of just left her in the trench. Not left her in the trenches, but I know she was worried about me and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm gonna be all right. But also, it's like it sucks because
Yeah.
those situations, as traumatic as they were,
Did she
kind
ever
of
try to
shaped me.
get you to come back home?
She knew I wouldn't come back home. I've
Mm,
always been
okay.
like, I'm gonna be all right. Like
Mm,
once our relationship changed, when I told her I was having a kid and she went from talking to me to talking at me,
mhm,
I lost my best friend that day.
mm.
Like she would not talk to me. It was literally you need to do this and you need to do that and that. And I felt that riff and I was like, all right, well, I'm out. And
Right.
I never planned on going back. Um,
Yes,
text
ma'am.
him. Yeah, he's calling me.
Oh.
Kevin Tate, call you after I feel. So it, I never was planning on going back. I knew that.
Mhm.
And I also it was also like a pride thing because like a lot of my uncles and cousins was they moved out the house, they went back to their moms or something like
Oh,
that. And I was
so it
like,
was
nigga,
like,
I'm
"I
not finna,
can't."
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not finna be. I done
Yeah.
made a grandstand the thing. I'm out this bitch. I can't go back, be like hat in hand, and be like, do you mind? But so a part of it was pride, and also just feeling like, all right, well, if I was grown enough to feel like I could do it, then I'm grown enough to figure this shit out. If I got to
Mm,
suffer for a little bit, I'll suffer for a little bit.
mhm.
My apartment got broke in. My first apartment got broke in probably about a month and a half until I
What
moved
apartment
into.
was this?
This is the one that was uh, it was on New Halls Ferry.
Okay.
It was a Walgreens right there and a
Mhm,
Rally's right across the street,
mhm.
and it was apartment buildings right there behind this car wash, and I was still working at White Castles. I moved it to the place. I was stealing from White Castles. So I was making decent money. I was like right under a shift manager, but I didn't want to be a shift manager, but they were still like paying me as that. And I was cool with the shift manager. So like we worked nights. We send everybody home by 12 and nothing got rang up from like 12:30 to about 3:30, sometimes 4. So we both walking out of there between $500 and $700 a piece. Right. And I had learned the menu so well that I knew like if you wanted the number one with cheese and a regular drink, that was $4.10. If you wanted to substitute your drink for a shake, that was $4.87. I knew
so
the tax
much.
exchange rate. I was because we had to be on that shit. I knew I needed to start with a bank of like $60. I needed like $15 in ones. I needed 5s and I need 10s.
I feel like I've heard,
Yeah, I've talked about this before.
about it,
Yeah, so I was doing well. Like
Right.
I had bought at the time the big screen flat TVs, like the ones that roll. That was the big thing. I had one of those in my living room.
Jesus.
I had air, all that type of shit. I had
Wait,
multiple
how
radios.
How we get to your apartment?
Because I was talking to you about
You was on a roll. I'm like, how we get here?
I think we were talking about. Oh yeah. So I was doing good, and then had all this stuff, money lying around the house. I was buying diesels at the time. Diesels was popping. Diesels had first come out. The shoes diesels. So I had like 10 boxes of those. Man, somebody broke into my apartment and stole all that shit. We were talking about the struggle. If I got to struggle a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And so when I moved out of that apartment, because I moved out the same night. I had my homies come up. We all grabbed stuff and we took it to my ex-girlfriend's house. Her mom okayed me staying in that basement. And I stayed in that basement for 5 months.
Really?
And I didn't have a key. So I had to just, whenever they was available, I had to just coordinate with them.
Really?
And then I moved out of there before I moved into my cousin's spot. I stayed in my car for like 2 weeks. I stayed in a Protege.
I remember.
A Mazda Protege. I was sleeping in that back and I was parking on I was parking on White Castle's lot because it was a well-lit lot.
Was that the same Protege that I used to drive?
Yes.
Oh,
I used to sleep in the Protege.
Okay.
Yep. So I stayed in there for 2 weeks.
I'm still learning shit about him, y'all.
Stayed in there for 2 weeks before I got approved for this apartment on the south side. And that's the apartment that you met me in.
Right. Damn it. You said something. You were talking so fucking fast.
I do that and I'm a pimp. I don't like to repeat myself.
Shut up. Anyway. That water bottle should just implode. Like the submarine.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Too soon.
What's the skill you learned when you were a kid that you still use today?
I've kind of become a little more lax on that, but like extreme cautiousness. Like when going to parties, going to areas I don't know, trips, planning stuff, all of that. I had to do that as a kid because when I was living in garages and basements and attics and shit like that before I moved in with my cousin Vale, if I looked like I didn't have a home or I was lost or I needed help, niggas would take advantage of you. I am easy prey. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't super tall. I was solid, but I was not super tall. So I had to practice extreme cautiousness. I know if I get on this bus before it gets to my high school, it stops at this other high school, this alternative high school, and these motherfuckers like to fight, right? They were on buses, yanking people's book bags down, and when your shit falls out, you go to pick it up, they stump you.
Shit.
So I knew I got to get to work by 3. So I either have to take the later bus, which is going to make me late for work, or I have to talk to my teacher and let him understand I need to get out of class early so I can make it to school so I can take care of my kid. And so that planning, that cautiousness, that thinking 3-4 steps ahead is something that I've always moved with because I had to. It wasn't even an option. If I hadn't done it like that, I wouldn't have made it out of my situations.
Right.
So
yeah, that makes perfect sense. Wow. I didn't expect you to, I don't know why I expected like, man, my style came from.
My style came from magazines. I used to see people in magazines. I remember when I was too broke to buy cologne. My first cologne was like Aspen and Stetson, right? Shit like that. But when I wanted new clothes, I couldn't afford that shit. I would just like rip the pages out of magazines and put a little water on it and then rub that on my neck.
You really did
I
that?
absolutely did that.
Yo,
And I would
I
keep
only
them
ever
shits too.
seen people do that on TV.
I definitely would keep them shits. Them shits used to be on like my dresser, or I would have them stacked together in a fold or something. But like, yeah, I didn't until I got money to afford that shit. Yeah, had to.
So what we get from this now is that you need to call your mom and apologize. He said, that's who I would apologize to. I ain't gonna do it.
I've already apologized.
Oh, it says an apology. So I thought it was still pending.
No, I've talked. We've talked.
Y'all talk.
Me and my mom aren't the closest, but we're close. We're better than what we used to be years ago. My mom is one of those people, she would just run an idea to the ground. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. She's like, well, I'm just saying if you did it, it would be good because of this. I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not moving that way. No, I get that. I just thought that maybe stop repeating what you're saying to me. I know what you're doing. You're not gonna water me down. You're not gonna drink. Nah, I hang up before that happens. EJJ.
EJJ.
E double J.
Gross. EJ squared.
EJ squared.
EJ squared. Look,
yeah,
see.
Now I gotta go get.
You
I gotta take her to the tattoo shop. Like, you gotta get this tattoo. EJ squared, baby.
Oh wow. Yeah, your mom is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. The apology, y'all relationship. How do you see it in like a couple more years? Like, it's grown a lot from when I first walked into your life. So where do you see it going?
I don't know. I don't want to say that money will help him fix all of that. I think it will help maybe lubricate the situation. And I mean that in the sense of like, my mom hasn't done a lot of stuff because she had me and my sister. So when I took her out of the country a couple years back, I was thankful to have Farron and my younger sister and my god sister, Dana, there with me, because they honestly took turns stepping in and blocking conversation with me and my mom. Because my mom she one of them people, okay? So I would love to show her the things that she's never seen before. That trip we did, London, Paris, and Barcelona, I would love to take her to Africa. I would love to take her back to London. I'm not a big fan of Paris, but I would love to take her back to London. I would love to take her to Amsterdam. I would love to take her wherever she wants to go, like point at a map and we'll go there. But also have people there with me to
some
help
buffers.
me. Yeah, so some buffers. So, money would allow me to do that and then get her a nice house. The hardest part right now is spending time with my mom. Is she has become complacent in a very bad situation. Living wise. And me and my sister tried to help her into a better situation and she turned us down. And a couple years back, I'm going to say my stepfather, they would, by common law, they would have been married. But he passed away, what's that, 2018?
I think it was 18.
And since then, my mom has basically just stopped trying. And it's very difficult to be around someone that you see deteriorating and you point things out and they make no attempts to acknowledge or change it. And it is hurtful.
Right.
And my heart screams every time I'm around my mom because I see it. And I knew the old mom. Like, my mom was big into poetry. She loved live music. The reason I have such a love for music is my mom and my dad. My dad was really into music. My mom used to tell me stories about them going out dancing to the skating rink and people were waiting for my dad to dance with him. And my mom was like, cool, like, I don't give a fuck. That's my man, whatever, right? And my mom, my first concert was like George Duke, Al Jarreau, I think David Sanborn, and Nikki Wilson or somebody Wilson. But she put me on the concerts at a very early age. My first concert might have been at like 7 or 8, going to see these grown-ass people. And to see her lose that fire in her eye, that desire to want more is it's difficult to be around.
Mm.
You know,
I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean to trigger a thing.
Oh, you didn't trigger it. Like, I'm
Okay.
able to talk about this,
Yeah.
and I'm able to find the words to speak on how I feel now.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago, this would have been a hard conversation.
Right.
And
Very true.
shit, a couple months ago, a couple weeks ago, I wouldn't have been able to get through this without crying. And I've accepted where she is. I'm going to
Mhm.
continue to try to help her,
Mhm.
but I can't allow that to stop me from doing what I do. I can't allow that to affect me to the point where I become complacent and I stop trying. I can keep trying to help her and let her see the worth and continue to push on.
Mhm.
But the only way I can really fix it for her is if I had the money to just move her.
Yeah.
Because my
You
mom
just have
has
to
this,
just go pack her up and
yeah,
move her.
she has a
like
storage unit with all my stepdad
she
stuff still in it. And she
go
was like, I'm gonna
kicking
go
and
through this
screaming.
and stuff and all of this. She hasn't gone through it in 5-6 years. She always says she's going to. And every time I go up there, she has a new ailment. And it's like, well, are you going to the doctor? It's like, no, I'm gonna go eventually. It's like, I'm seeing her deteriorate.
You're right.
I'm seeing her implode. And it's hard to see and be around.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still my mom.
Right.
So,
yeah.
You know, it is difficult. So.
Well, I hope that she finally listens. Something comes to her, and it's like just, yeah. I really really hope so, because I know that it stresses you out every time you talk about it. That's why I was wondering what the trajectory of y'all's relationship and stuff. But I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
Before
we get out of here,
before we get out of here, tell us something you're thankful for right now.
Whoo. I'm thankful for friends and loved ones who are not afraid to call you on your shit. It's very easy to get caught up in, especially in Hollywood, with yes men and shit like that. But when you have genuine people around you that care about you and love you, and not just so they can continue working with you or benefit off of you, but because they genuinely love you and worry about your well-being, and they can pull you to the side like, nigga, that makes a difference. So I'm appreciative for the point I am at where I can allow these people in and even accept that type of love. Because for a while I was being friends with so many people on surface level because I was afraid to let people in. And I'm thankful that I have grown and learned or been able to see the significance and the relevance of allowing people in. So
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that for you. It's
Yeah,
been
man.
so cute to see. Yeah. All right. So now we will get out of here. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of More to the Story. I am Farron Moore.
I'm to hear more, niggas.
See you next week.
Bye.